So now we are going out to Aaron Street, and Aaron Street was the old home place of the church, the Baptist church, where my grandparents, they attended church. They also lived on Aaron Street. And then that was also the home place of Nanny, they called her Nanny Ma. She's Ella Clay Twyman, who was the daughter of Henry Clay. So she is the first one that I know about that came from Criglersville and actually settled in Piedmont from Madison County. And I didn't know that, of course, until I started doing the research. But this is Aaron Street, and this is a street where my father said this is where the uppity Negroes lived. We lived on Back Street. Now this building, this structure to the left, this was the old Howard High School. And that's where my father, unfortunately, is in such disrepair, but that's where he attended high school, was Howard High School. And then this house right here, that house right there, that was the home place of Henry Louis Gates, who, is the scholar at Harvard. And so he grew up on Aaron Street, and then later on they moved. But, all of this was walking distance. So some of my relatives, the Prices, they lived here. And it looks as though somebody built a new house. And then I had a relative that lived up that street there. I don't know whose home this is, but this is new. That's pretty. It's a pretty house there. And this is the house here that I was saying that was on the market. But these are pretty nice out here. They don't look too bad. This is new. No, who lives there? That must be Rosie's. Okay. Now, the big hole that we're about to look at, it's all gone, because right here in this structure there, I'll turn around, that used to be where Nanny Ma lived. That was the old home place. And then this big hole right here is the church. So that was the church. One of the founders of the church was my grandfather, William Willie Clay. So this is new for me to actually see that it's a big hole. I had no idea that it was a big hole. And I got to figure out how to back up out of here. I'm really surprised that the house is gone. I thought the house would still be here, and unfortunately it's gone. All right, I don't want to put us in the hole. So probably better look to see where I'm going. Don't want to go over the cliff. But I used to come here as a child with my grandmother, and she loved coming here. Now, the future site of Emmanuel Church, they ended up selecting another location, but these two pieces of property, this is where we spent a lot of time. So things have really changed. The house is totally gone. I have photographs of it, but that's where my grandmother spent her childhood, and that's where we came as children. I'm really sorry that it's not here any longer. So but the other thing I'm happy about is that there's a lot of preservation here. I'm happy to see this, because I had no idea. People have kept their yards nice. So if Uncle Vic wanted to move, but this is the house. Oh, it has a lot of space back there too. And this was the home of, his name is David Coleman, but we called him Erky, and he was the uncle, one of the uncles of Henry Louis Gates. And he was also an architect. But I really like that they built a house there. And so if you look this way, you can see the houses across there, that's all in Maryland. That's Westernport, Maryland. And then we'll go down this little road here. The interesting thing is that a lot of the people that moved to this area, they moved from, Moorfield and Petersburg and other parts of West Virginia, and they settled in Piedmont because there was economic opportunity in Piedmont. So we're going to go down this road here, and this is part of the high school. Oh, it's really bad there. And then I'm going to make a right turn, and you'll be able to see another house that I wanted you to see. Now this house right here that has the snowman in front, this was the house that Henry Louis Gates purchased for his parents right there. So I don't know who lives in there now, of course, but that was a pretty big purchase for his family. So I'm going to just turn around and we'll go downtown. And many of the family members also lived here. So I just got to figure out a place to turn around here and back up. Or actually I can just go back up here and go around the other place. And we don't have to do all that turning around. But this was, and still is, pretty much a black community. And also a mixed community, because neighbors got along for many years, black and white people, and would come back for Labor Day, some for Christmas, but definitely for Labor Day, and a lot of card parties, bid whist parties. This was the hub of the Hill in these homes here. There's a lot of warm memories, and people still live here. There's still family members that live here, senior citizens now. My parents actually, when their house burned, they lived there for a short period of time, and then they ended up moving to New Creek. So just a lot. I have a lot of warm memories. We walked all over town, and when I tell you we walked, we did. This used to be a store that was owned by the Green family, black owned. And his descendants, Nate was also one of my cousins. His family, they were the Prices. And his descendants do what we call the Backstreet Reunion. And it's a lot of fun. And we didn't have it the last couple of years because of COVID. So hopefully this year or within the next year and a half, we'll be able to do that. And then to the right, you can see that's the neighborhood. That was called Backstreet and Downtown. And that's where my father said the regular Negroes, the non-uppity Negroes, they lived downtown. But eventually, the town is falling apart. And then to the left was our elementary school. And it's, of course, gone, which is very sad. And the railroad has always been big business in Piedmont, and it still is. The railroad still is big in the economy of this part of West Virginia and Western Maryland. But I remember, growing up with the sound of the train and the sound of the water. And we'll make a left turn here, and we'll go visit the high school. And you can see that everything is walkable. These were banks and beauty shops and all kinds of businesses and churches and homes, and it's all gone now. And then we're approaching right now, and I'll stop. On the right-hand side, you heard me mention about Gasaway Davis, who was Senator Gasaway Davis from West Virginia. And he was friends with Senator Henry Clay of Kentucky. And then the public housing right there Was a lot of senior citizens live in there. And when they were built, they were all the rage. This is the place where I attended high school. We had a great high school. And then after the schools consolidated, Westvaco purchased it and made it a facility. And actually they made it their medical center and pharmacy. And then over time, Westvaco closed. And so the school's gone. But I have a lot of warm memories from there. And then this part of the town was called the Orchard. And the pool, which is still active, we have people in the community, thank goodness, to keep it active. I spent a lot of good times at the pool. We had a pier in the middle. I think the pier might be gone, but that's where I learned how to dive. And the guy who taught me how to dive, his name was Mike Serpone, and he lived right in this house. And his mother's name was Daisy Serpone, and she was the queen of the Orchard. So, the black people and the white people got along very well in this community. And these housing units, they've been here probably for over 50 years. And then Fredlock Funeral Home, it's been here, over 100 years, probably over a century. So now we're going to drive to what they consider to be Back Street. And Back Street consisted of two streets, which was Paxton Street and Water Street. I lived on both streets. I lived at 23 Paxton Street with my grandparents, and then I lived at 37 Water Street with my parents. And it didn't look like this when I was growing up. We had parades and theaters, thriving businesses. We had one of the first opera houses in the United States, and it was located where the L&M Plumbing is. So when we would come home, we didn't come home to this. We came home to nicely painted homes. The person that used to live there, Mr. and Mrs. Bell and Mrs. C, they had beautiful homes and gardens, and now that's gone. And now where I grew up at 37 Water Street, it is now, this property is still owned by my family, but we dedicated this basketball court to our cousin. His name was Bubby Hines. And so there's a plaque right there that we dedicated that to him, but this is still our land. But this was where my physical house was located. And so that's where we used to